Papua New Guinea and welcome to another episode of Business PNG. A few weeks ago, we brought you a story about a coffee cooperative made up of over 200 farmers from Boana in the Morobe Province, tapping into a 590 million kina industry. Recently, the cooperative have become the first to export using its reserved export license. They have been exporting coffee since 2008, but this year they've become an exporter on their own, selling directly to an Australian buyer. Business PNG correspondent Bethany Hariman reports from Lae.
On Friday, a small cooperative made up of about 200 farmers from Boana in the Morobe Province celebrated their first coffee export under their own export license.
Now me feeling was me start was me man me very necktie was because long history blow this la country history blow this la country CEO belong coffee industry talk finish. Or like Lausin receive export license because you know I use long. That's me or some any long leadership blow me.
Neknasi chairman Mong Bungong, an elementary school teacher by profession, was in the forefront of Neknasi's success from the beginning. On Friday, he was at the launching. Coffee Industry Corporation Chief Executive Officer Charles Dambui attended the event that marks a significant milestone for a rural cooperative that was built by the people. Neknasi's story never fails to inspire. They are the first cooperative to export coffee under their own license. They arrived at this stage by achieving step by step a government policy that promotes coffee from rural farmers directly to overseas buyers.
And that is receive export license. They are the first to export. And we are very pleased to see that they have actually progressed. So they are progressive farmers. And we believe that as time goes by, they will gain strength to strength.
Coffee Industry Corporation boss Charles Dambui says the cooperative has become a model that the organization uses to expand the tree-to-cup policy throughout the country.
There's a very good, strong leadership structure. Things move and things do change. And people, the other things, the people themselves, how do they take changes that we want to introduce to them. And Neknasi, we have realized that they're easy to take things and they're easy to adapt to the changes that we were advocating. So in terms of delivering this tree-to-cup policy, Neknasi was a role model to which we are very pleased.
Trading more got something. All system business na mi bla. Kisim contract long Melbourne, Australia na mi working first shipment business. Thank you. Asena mi amas.
Neknasi chairman Mong Bungong says the cooperative will now deal with dollars and not with kina. With all of that dollars, the cooperative is now going to buy vehicles, build roads, fix schools and pay for their children's school fees.
That's a school fee long, paying school fee long. Me blama buy me. No worries. Coffee me blame direct export now ya.
Neknasi's story is inspiring. A cooperative from a rural part of the Morobe Province is now directly exporting their coffee bags to Australia. It shows the potential rural people have in contributing to an economy that's already struggling with only developments in the non-renewable sectors. If bridges, roads and other infrastructure is improved, the agricultural sector can take off when rural people participate more meaningfully. They already own 80% of the land. Coffee has made 590 million kina in revenue in the last 3 quarters of this year. The industry is expected to generate 100 million kina more before the year ends. But there are challenges that need to be addressed by all stakeholders in the coffee industry. The quality of the coffee must be maintained as well as the quantity coming out from the provinces.
There are 2 things that will always challenge groups like that want to venture into exporting. One is the consistency in delivering the quality and consistency in delivering the quantity that is required by the buyer overseas. And this is always a big challenge for small farmers. Many of our farmers will have problems dealing with supply the consistency product to the market. But once, there are two things that you can do to correct that one. Once is your post-harvest practice. When you can handle all the post-harvest practices correctly, all right, you will reduce the chances of having a bad quality put on sheep. The other one is to maintain the consistency in quantities, so volume. You have to replenish or replant the trees, enough volume, enough coffee trees to supply the required volume.
Neknasi has to some extent satisfied the two requirements, and so the 200 farmers are exporting.
What I've done, I've instructed my manager to relook at the guidelines again. So if they want to get an export license, I will learn from Neknasi. You have to have enough volume, coffee. You have to have enough expertise. Also, you have to have a good road network infrastructure and capital to put it on ship. Yeah. So we will capture those into our reserve export license. So when they apply to get a reserve export license, we're not going to give them just because they grow coffee, but they must also have volume of coffee and quality that will meet the market demand. So it will just complete the export process from the growing process to export. Yeah.
Every year, the number of students finishing grade 12 increases. Some of them will have spaces in universities or colleges, while a majority of them will have to look for opportunities in the formal or informal sector. The Asian Development Bank has expressed in development forums that in both sectors a basic education is crucial. The national government is working to improve access to basic education. Once again, Bethany Hariman from Leh.
While speaking at a graduation last week at the Busu Secondary School, Deputy Opposition Leader Sam Basil highlighted the lack of employment for students graduating from secondary school every year.
Now we will be having a lot of unemployment, and we will be having a lot of people with no job and not engaged in any industries.
He told those in attendance that downstream processing of resources is key to creating new jobs. Sam Basil is part of the opposition and can form an alternative government. The Pangu Party leader explained policies that the party would push if it were in power.
We'll make coffee become a department of its own with its own ministry, and cacao to become a department of its own, because both cash crops are bringing in almost 500 million into PNG's economy. Our aim is to build that 500 million into 2.5 or 2 billion industry.
While Pangu Party and other parties in the opposition may have their policies ready, the ruling party, the People's National Congress, and its coalition partners in government are still intact. This year, the opposition tried to change government with votes of no confidence, but that hasn't worked. And the PNC and its coalition partners will be a formidable force in next year's general elections.
As a legislator, standing here today at Busu graduation, I'm very critical about those issues, that how are we going to create jobs for these 20,000 plus grade 12 school leavers, or totaling 60,000 in Papua New Guinea. We have a lot of raw resources that we are exporting, but I believe that under Pangu government, as our part of our policies in the next election, we will look at stopping the export of round logs, and I want to let Papua New Guineans know that
Pangu is now speaking a whole new language, one that may seem as political suicide. The party leader is ready to stop round log exports and process them onshore.
We will stop round logs exports, and that message should go to all Papua New Guineans, that if a party comes out and say that we want to stop round log exports, all the logging companies will put their money behind political parties that will make them export round logs, and Papua New Guineans must know that.
Around 60,000 students graduate from secondary schools across the country every year. While some of them make it into universities or colleges, most become part of an ever-increasing statistic of unemployed Papua New Guineans.
2 universities of Papua New Guinea will take only 5,000 to 6,000. But not forgetting the situation that was created this year of the student unrest. that has also affected, that will also affect the intakes, number of intakes into the two universities. We will have about 20,000 students returning back home, looking for other institutions or privately sponsor themselves.
The Asian Development Bank has separated the economy into two parts, the formal and informal sector, both crucial in providing employment.
So it's education that gives people the opportunity to move from being perhaps a basic trader into running a small business. And for those skills, you need to run those businesses. You need to have literacy skills. You need to have numeracy skills. So it's very important to focus on basic education and ensure that people have those basic skills.
Principal social sector economist Andrew Parker says a basic education is still vital.
Then, of course, it's important to have the business skills that you have to be able to run a small business effectively. So that's very much a process that is going on now, the government's priority around improving a basic education.
And also, when you look at the overall total of school leavers in Papua New Guinea, we are looking at about 70 to 80,000 school leavers that will go out joining the unemployment workforce. And it's very dangerous, and I have been stressing that in many of my graduation speeches, that as a legislator, as a parliamentarian, I am worried about the numbers of school leavers that are pushed out into the unemployment situation that we have, because Papua New Guinea doesn't have data. We do not have real data on unemployment and employment. Even on we say that 200,000 children are born every year. We don't have data, and this is very dangerous when we do not spend money where it matters.
For most of the 60,000 plus students, the formal sector is a very big playing field. Most of them won't land jobs in a sector that is ever changing and increasing in demand.
For formal sector employers, they're looking for people who have higher levels of qualifications and formal qualifications and skills. So that means going for further training after they've finished school. It means getting perhaps a trade qualification. And that's what employers look at when you come to apply for a job. They're looking for your certification. Do you have a qualification? Not just have you been on a training program somewhere, but do you have an approved certification to practice as a carpenter or as a plumber, as an electrician? But of course, employers also want people who have experience. So it's not just about having the piece of paper. They need to know that you've already worked on previous projects, that you already have experience. People can go and get references. How did this man or woman, what has her performance been like? So all of these things come together in order to make up a skilled workforce.
Welcome back to Business PNG. Amongst the challenges of doing business in the country, there are some striving entrepreneurs who aim to succeed and propel their business from strength to strength. In this Entrepreneur Engaged segment, we feature a travel agency who's managed to stay in the business despite the rise of do-it-yourself online bookings, making agencies redundant. We present Leisure Travel.
Nancy Paul, and I'm the manager of Leisure Holidays and Travel. We've been here for over 18 years, and we have 7 national staff working here. And we're a travel agent that is an agent of airlines such as Air Guinea, Qantas, Philippine Airlines, Virgin Australia for international travel, and for domestic airlines of PNG and Airlink. The difference from buying directly from the airline and a travel agency is that you have a choice of purchasing different airlines. Our main clients are a mixture of corporate and individual customers. The cost of running our business here, the main two things are our wages and salary and the rentals. Our main advertising mediums are three things, mainly three things: word of mouth, personal referrals, and cross-selling. Right, tourism industry is still developing in Papua New Guinea, and we need to improve and learn a lot from our Melanesian friends, such as Fiji and New Zealand. Also, I find that cost and infrastructure needs improvement. With the current economy strain and what's been going on, I think the economy is flat, and I think that has put a lot of strain on the travel industry, and that probably was one of the reasons why we moved up to the next floor from the old office.
And that's all from us tonight. For more business news, or if you would like to view this episode again, visit EMTV online at the URL at the bottom of the screen, or for up-to-the-minute business news and updates, like our page on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at Business PNG or on Tumblr. Before we leave you, we would like to congratulate and thank the PNG Under-20 women's team during their FIFA World Cup campaign. Until next week, have a pleasant evening. I'm Michelle Bird, and this was Business PNG.